Welcome to Translate 5. In this tutorial video, we would like to familiarize you with an array of topics, ranging from project creation and workflow to the automated assignment of users and language resources, as well as system configurations related to the workflow and their overwriting options. To do this, we will start directly in the import window. Create your project as usual and press Next. The window for the user assignment defaults will appear, where the users and their workflow roles have been automatically pre-selected according to the preset of the selected client. Technically, you could finish importing your project with the next steps, but let's take a closer look at this window. In the upper bar, you will see various buttons. Here, you can separately add or remove users. This button allows you to select the different ways in which assigned users may work on your project. In principle, any number of users can be assigned to the same workflow step or workflow role at the same time. When working simultaneously, all users of the same workflow role can work on the task simultaneously. When working sequentially, only one user of the same workflow role can work on the task. The others can open the task in read-only mode. In competing assignment, following the principle of first come, first served, the user who opens the task first and then accepts the task for editing receives the privileges to edit the task. All other users assigned in this workflow step will have their assignment revoked and will be notified by mail. You can also select the type of workflow here. Currently, there is the option to choose between the standard workflow and the complex workflow. These differ in the variety of workflow steps that can be selected. The available workflow steps or workflow roles become visible during user association. You can see the user association window on the right-hand side. Here, you can select the workflow step and user. Optionally, you can also enter a deadline. In the system settings, you will find preset deadlines for this, which refer to the number of working days until the deadline. It is important to understand that although Translate 5 provides these two workflow types by default, the workflow steps they contain can be combined in dozens of different ways. According to the principle of everything goes, nothing has to, you can, for example, only use the first, third, and sixth steps of the complex workflow for your project. All other steps are automatically skipped by Translate 5. In this way, you can cover almost any project requirement with the two workflow types already available. A variety of other configuration and automation options, as well as custom workflows, can be set up at database level. Contact your Translate 5 team if you have any needs in that regard. In the user window, you can see all users that have been created for your Translate 5 instance. You can add new users via the Add User tab. Here, you enter the user and login information. You can also set the user's system role here. In the client window, select the client for whom you want to store the automated user assignments or overwrite workflow relevant system settings. Equally important as in the import window is the workflow selection list, where you can choose between the standard workflow and the complex workflow. For both workflows, you can define default settings for the current client. These settings determine which users are automatically assigned to their respective workflow step. Granted, the workflow in question is selected in the import for the project about to be created. Which of the two workflows is selected by default for a given customer can be determined in the customer's respective override system settings. To create a predefinition for an automated user assignment in the workflow, click on Add. On the right-hand side, the Add User Association area has now opened. Here, you select the source and target language for which the assigned user is to be automatically selected. In the Workflow Step selection list, select the role of your user. Provided you have selected the Standard Workflow, these 4 steps are displayed. In the Complex Workflow view, these are subdivided even further, displaying a total of 8 steps. It is important to note that predefined user assignments for the Standard and Complex Workflow are 2 separate areas and do not correspond with each other. This means that a predefinition created in the Standard Workflow is not available for the Complex Workflow and vice versa. To achieve this, you would have to add the predefinition for the user separately in the other workflow. Once you have selected the languages and the workflow step, you still have to select the user you want to use automatically for this language combination. Here, you can also set a deadline in advance. To do this, enter the number of working days, excluding weekends, that the user has to complete the task after it has been created. In the window for Language Resources, you can see all the language resources available to you. These are sorted by the type of language resource. For use and automation, the assignment of a client to a language resource is important. The read and write permissions are also interesting in this context. With a click on this symbol, you can open the language resource for editing. This is where you can adjust the name of the language resource, among other things. You can set the client for whom you want to activate a given language resource under this point. It is possible to activate a language resource for several customers. To do this, simply select all the clients for whom you want to activate this language resource. During the import of your project, you can use all language resources that are active for the current client. You can set the default access of read and write rights via these options. They will then be assigned automatically when creating new projects for the activated client. In the project task settings, you can also adjust the language resources to be used afterwards, as well as re-trigger analysis and pre-translation if necessary. Existing pre-translations or translations remain untouched. If you have any further questions, please contact us via service@translate5.net. Have fun using Translate 5.